Let's get to it, see what they're going to bring this year. We do so with former first-round pick of the Jets back in the day. I remember watching him in college at West Virginia. First 5 years with the Jets, 10 years in the NFL. Now he's been an analyst. He did a bunch of games with Ian Eagle, the great Ian Eagle on CBS for the summer, for the preseason games. He's also pre- and post-game analyst for the Jets, and that will be Anthony Becht. Anthony, Tiki and Tierney. Well, Tiki's not here, but how you doing, bud? What's happening?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good because for the first time, I don't know how much you heard, Anthony, but for the first time in years, I feel as if the enthusiasm, and I'm not over the, don't get me wrong, I'm not unreal, 11 wins. No, Jets are miles from being a playoff team, but I'm doing pretty good to answer your question because for the first time in years, I feel like the enthusiasm, I feel like the light at the end of that seemingly endless tunnel is real. Like, I feel like the Jets actually have done a few smart things. Am I right?
Yes, I would agree. Here's the bottom line of the whole situation. Joe Douglas, Rex Hogan, his assistant, Chad Alexander, Phil Savage, like, if this four-headed combo can't figure it out in New York, I don't know who can. I mean, those guys are like legitimate studs in the industry that have come together and are doing their best. They had a great draft class. I think the best thing about this draft class is you're going to see 6 to 9 guys potentially starting at some point, not out of necessity, but because of the fact they think they're good players. So, Zach Wilson, it's all going to start with him, clearly. He is the next phase of this new regime, and he has to pan out. And what we've seen in preseason, the small window, regardless of who he's gone against, I like what I see. I really like what he's put together in the 2 games that he played, and I think it's a great, jump board for him to go off. And the best thing about it, I think in years past, in particular, with the Gase system, Mike LaFleur has a plan. Like, the plays look like legitimate. Like, even in the preseason, guys were open. Receivers weren't catching the ball when they were contested. They were all there. There was a reason, a rhyme to the reason to what they were doing, and that's good to see because the quarterback has to have a plan. He looks comfortable running it, and I think as the season goes on, he'll be able to grow and learn and get better. Obviously bearing any injuries, and we can keep this roster intact so that they can go the rest of the season.
Well, listen, I've seen every throw he's made in the games. I saw a lot of the joint stuff with the Packers, but since it's a national show, rather than me just get too deep in the weeds of every throw that he's made, I want to bridge it out and maybe create a more accurate canvas here for my audience. And then I'm curious for myself. I have my answer, but I'm curious if it's the same as you. Sam Darnold, all right, without getting into no O-line, no receivers, horrible coach. We know what poor Sam had nothing. But in terms of pure talent, encompassing the arm, the legs, the head, everything, Zach Wilson, is he more talented than Sam Darnold, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think at this point when they're both rookies, I really do believe that Zach is more talented. And I like Sam. I think Sam had some talented things in his corner when he came out.
Yep.
But you know how it happens. You start playing in New York, you start building some habits, you start losing. Can you get over the hump and get better, as the years go on? And I just think the organization felt like, this was the kid that they saw that fit the system best that LaFleur was going to run. And I totally agree with it. The kid's smooth. He looks poised in the pocket. He looks like he understands what he's doing and why he's doing it. He's got an absolute gun for an arm, and his release is fantastic. Those things right there are great. He made good decisions throughout, the preseason games. I don't look at stats in practices, but as far as live bullets in the games, he looked like he knew where he wanted to bring the ball, and he had a plan. So those are starting pieces for him to kind of catapult himself with, and I think right now, if you were to say both of these guys coming out of their rookie year, Zach Wilson is more talented and he's more experienced. Sam only played 1 season of college. I mean, Zach's a 3-year starter, and of course exploded to the scene in his last year. So I think those are the things right now that I like about him. And he's got a great upside as far as what he can bring to the table.
I'm with you. We're talking to Anthony Becht, former first-round pick of the Jets. He's also part of their game day network. He's an analyst. He's the host. He does both pre and post, so he's with us here on Tiki and Tierney. All right, listen, you don't have the quarterback, you can't win. You don't have the left tackle to protect the quarterback. It's probably rough to win as well. I know Becton's going to be good, but I got to be honest. Reading all summer before Carl Lawson ruptured his Achilles, which is horrendous, but it's not like he was going against Bruce Smith in practice every day, who had 20 sacks a year, or Reggie White. Like, I know Carl Lawson was going to dominate this year, but the fact that Becton got abused by Lawson, that worries me. And I know that Becton's good, but do we need to tap the brakes on how we view Becton right now?
Of course. Oh, my gosh.
Okay.
Yeah, are you kidding me? Look, listen, you want that kind of stuff happening. Carl Lawson's a legit pass rusher. Like, he may not have the sack numbers, but he is as good as any pass rusher in the league. To get that kind of effort from a guy every single day in practice, that's going to bode huge for Mekhi Becton, and it's going to make him even better. And I think it opens him up to, everybody's patting him on the back. He did so well. I mean, let's just go back in time. This guy didn't let anybody near the quarterback last season, so he's only going to get better from that. I'll tell you this, too. We haven't seen any of them yet, but Elijah Vera-Tucker, there are some people in the building that think he's the best O-lineman they have in-house right now. That's how good they think this kid is.
I like it.
I'm excited to see him play. And those two guys are on the same side. So,
yes.
Look, they got a lot to look forward to. Connor McGovern's a seasoned center. Mm-hmm. He gets the job done. And you got two guys battling that tackle every single week. Two starters, two guys that have done it in a lot. I mean, that's what you want for your quarterback when he's a rookie.
And you're talking about Morgan Moses and Fant. I really expected Moses to win the job. He's going to be the starter, right?
You would think. I mean, 96 games, 96 starts. I mean, this guy's accountable. He's available every game. You love those things. Fant's a good player. He's a little different tackle. He's a little more finesse guy.
Yes. And
it actually is better for him in this system with the outside zone running. This is kind of right up his alley. So you're going to have two guys, man. And it's nice. I mean, God forbid you'd have to slide a guy down. You could do that with Moses at guard if something were to go wrong. So the depth is unbelievable this year, where in past years you're scratching your head. Where are they going to find a guy?
All right, now, Anthony, as a former Jet, you know this because you know what was in the building while you were there, what preceded you, and obviously what's transpired since. Very few times in my lifetime have the Jets ever had one of the best wide receivers in football. I mean, I wasn't around when Maynard was doing it, and obviously, Key was the first overall pick, and he was good, but he wasn't quite that. I loved Corbett, but a little limited, even though Corbett's my guy. I love him, beast, but. Outside of the Brandon Marshall year with Fitzpatrick, there's been a lot of pedestrian receivers, right? And I look at Elijah Moore, and I want to maintain and contain my enthusiasm, but everything I hear and everything I see and everything I read, I mean, Elijah Moore is being positioned as a future superstar. Are you seeing that?
Well, we haven't seen anything yet. You're right. It's all speculative as what they've seen in practice. I know they love him, and there's a lot of wow factor that comes with him. Listen, it's all going to come down to the play caller and utilizing him as many facets as possible. I think that's a toy right now that LaFleur is excited about, and I fully expect him to utilize him at the highest level. And I think he is going to be a playmaker. He's a mismatch problem. And now you team him up with legitimate receivers outside of him. Corey Davis was catching wide-open balls versus Green Bay. When's the last time you saw a Jets receiver have an uncontested catch multiple times in a game? Mm-hmm. It just doesn't happen.
No.
And now you have a guy, a true one, that can do that. And then Crowder, and then Mims, and Berrios, and Keelan Cole, who we haven't seen much from.
Yep.
But again, this guy was one of the top yards per catch guy, over 17 yards a game last year with Jacksonville. So there's a lot of talent there, man. I think that's good. Now, they don't have a star running back yet. And I'm not to say that they don't have one in that roster, but someone has to stick out and really be productive. This offensive line, as good as it can be pass protecting, has to be able to formulate holes and get the run game going. And if you can do that, man, sky's the limit with this system. And like I said, with a competent play caller, you can do a lot of good things.
That's why it was so disgraceful last year, and I love the guy, and I've got great reverence for his career, but for Frank Gore to get carries, to take carries away from Ty Johnson, P. Ryan, some other guy, it was one of the worst things I've ever seen in coaching in a long, long time. Thankfully, that's over. But you're right. There's a good stable there. I think Ty Johnson should be the guy. I know he ran about a 4.3 at Maryland. Had a lot of Carter I like from Carolina. Somebody's going to emerge. Anthony, I get the sense that Listen, these quarterbacks are not good. So the Jets are going to get, as much as we want to frame this positively, Jets are going to get roasted in the secondary all season, in my opinion, especially without Carl Lawson. So I think, I think the Jets can steal a game or two. I think they'll be highly competitive. They'll probably beat a few teams they're supposed to, maybe beat a team they're not. 6 wins, maybe 7. But I feel like the games that they win will be high-scoring games. While their defense lags. Is that kind of what you see from a distance?
Yeah, well, I think everybody wants to see points, right? I mean, this offense has been so bad the last 5 or 6 years. We want to see the end zone and ringing the bell a lot for the offense. Defensively, yeah. I mean, if you pick the position, corner's the least experienced. But I think there's some talent there. I think, with game experience, continuing to play, guys like Bryce Hall and Bless Austin can be staples for this team. They're young players, but I'm telling you, they're hungry, and they've had good camps. And LaMarcus Joyner and Marcus May on the backside, I mean, that's a pretty good combination as far as experience and youth, but a guy that, is obviously one of the team captains and best players on the team in Marcus May. So now the depth is where there's questions. They're young. They have rookies. They're going to play a ton of rookies. They're going to play a ton of rookies at linebacker, but they like these players. Again, it's not out of necessity. They're playing them because they're good, and they feel good about them. And this isn't a one-year thing. They got 10 or 11 draft picks next year. They got cash in the cap. I mean, talk about 2 seasons. This year can be very good, very positive. I'm on the same boat as you. If they can get around 7 or 8 wins, which would be outstanding, I think that's a huge jump outside of 2 wins last year, and then obviously going into next season. So, look, I think everybody just wants to see improvement overall. Whether the wins and losses, whatever they may be, you'll know when you see the team after the season if this team is better than they were the year before that.
Yep, they got to figure out May's contract situation. I hear you on the youth in the cornerback room, but until they prove to be players, I'm still worried. They've got to find a shutdown corner in the next year or two. And they've eventually, by the way, they've got to find, and they've got strength in numbers, but they've got to find a tight end that could gash people. Like, that's something else the Jets never have, a tight end. Outside of you, of course.
What's it been? 15 years, right?
Outside of Anthony Becht,
They got Herndon, who I think he's kind of like get off the pot or do it now. This is where he's at in his career. There's no question.
Anthony, I'm not waiting on Chris Herndon anymore. I mean, until I see this guy do a damn thing, I've given up on Chris Herndon.
Exactly. And then Tyler Kroft. Look, he's pretty good in the preseason game. I think he's got a chance to do something this year. He's really good in his receiving routes. He's got decent speed. He's a veteran. He's got a lot of tread on the tires because he was banged up a couple years, but he looked good in preseason. I'll tell you, Zach Wilson gets him the football.
Yes,
and we know this offense in San Francisco is very tight end driven as well. So Tyler can be a weapon for this football team.
Okay.
Let's see if it continues. I think it's a good 2-touchdown game. 2 games ago against Green Bay is a nice start.
Yep.
But let's see how it falls out for these guys.
All right, man. We'll be watching. Great job with Iron Eagle, by the way. I had you on locally here. That's Anthony Becht, former first-round pick out of West Virginia, former Jets tight end, 11 years in the NFL, host of Jets Game Day Network, pre and post, and nice rundown on a team that is slowly ascending. Some positive vibes. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you.
You got it, Brandon. Thanks.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell to be notified when we drop fresh content.